Now let's begin building the hand. Now there are a few ways to go about building a hand. You can start from the base and then extrude out fingers. But one of the ways that I'll like to do it sometimes is to start with the fingers and then build the hand, and then we can think about how to connect up the hand with the wrist, because they're going to be different resolutions. So with the fingers, just as with the arm, I want to make it a minimum of, in the fingers they're smaller, so you can maybe get away with 6, but I'm going to do 8 lines all the way around. So let's start with just a simple cylinder. And I'm going to orient this a little bit differently. I'm going to orient it in the Z. Let's take our segments down to 8. And we're going to leave the caps on in this case. Okay, we will get rid of some of those polygons, but I do want to have some polygons on the end. Let's go ahead and let's make it a little bit. Let's bring it down a little bit and we'll decrease the radius. So the size itself doesn't have to be exact right now. We just want to get a rough shape. Let's increase the number of height segments. So do maybe 4. I want to do fingers in this case that are more like they kind of are spline based. So it's not necessarily you see 3 distinct joints, but you see more of like an overall curve to the finger when you move it. And so I'm not going to concentrate so much on individual joints, but more the overall shape. All right, let's go ahead and make this editable. Now, one of the things that you need to know about these cylinders when you make those editable is the fact that the caps aren't really connected. So you can see it's not really connected up. So what we can do is, I know I don't want the ones on the back, so I'm just going to delete those. We'll just select them and delete them. But instead of going in and welding each of these points individually, what you can do is add a connect object, drop your cylinder inside of it. On the connect, you can change the tolerance, but it looks like it's okay. And then we'll take that connect and make that editable. And so what that's done is it's merged together any points inside of that connect. So that gives us that connected end there. Okay, so now I'm just going to come in and just taper it down a little bit by scaling some of these down. We'll do the same thing here. So I'm just thinking about sort of one finger at a time. I'm going to bring that down a little. Okay, let's go ahead and I want to take away, so you can see there's a pole right here at the end. And so to kind of clean this up, I want to get rid of some of these edges. So to do that, I'm going to right click and go dissolve. That gives us some quads there on the end. Let's take those quads. And I'm just going to extrude those out. And let's kind of scale them down a little bit. And let's take that point out here. And let's take these sort of corner points, these little 3 poles here. And we'll kind of push them back a little, just to kind of round out the end of the finger. Now also, you can kind of flatten off the top a little bit if you want to give it kind of a little bit more of a finger kind of shape there. We can kind of flatten that top part just a little. And then maybe we want to add another little bit right in there. We can do that with the knife. And so we want to get sort of one finger. Now I want to add just a little bit of a curve to it. And so let's actually take the whole thing and let's rotate it down a little. Doing this helps in rigging. You don't want your joints to be completely straight. You want to have just a little bit of a curve in the right direction, or a little bit of a rotation in the right direction. But you want it as default as possible so that they can go in and create their bones and rig it up. So I'm going to create a little bit of a curve here. And this will give us one finger, and then we can actually use this to duplicate kind of the rest of the digits. Okay, I might want to kind of widen this up a little. So I can kind of scale this out. widen that up a little bit and come all the way down here. And then what we can do is just copy this to create our other fingers. So I'm just going to control drag to create another one, kind of right over here. I'm going to put it sort of next to it, rotate it down a little bit more, keep the base close. So we get something like that. Let's look at see how many fingers he's got. So he's got 3 fingers and a thumb. So let's duplicate this again. And then again, we'll rotate this a little bit more in a couple of different axes. Move it down a little bit. Let's kind of scale it down a little. But again, sort of align the base. Let's move this middle one up a little bit. Okay, so we get something like that. And then for the thumb, we can come in and I'll just do, let's scale this down and make it a little bit stumpier. And this one is not going to be right next to these. It's going to be sort of back here and down a little bit more. So something like that. You can sort of visualize that, right? The hand without the base. We'll kind of align that a little bit more. Okay, so once we've got our fingers, the next thing we can do is take these fingers and begin to connect those together. So I'll just connect all these up until they're one piece. Okay, now we can either weld these points together or we can bridge the geometry between them. If you bridge between them, you're going to have more geometry that you have to deal with. So in our case, let's try to just combine these points. So to get both of those points and just say weld, and I'll click the center line. Let's do the same thing here. I'll click the center line. And so we'll do the 3 points right there. Okay. Now just do that on these 3. And then on this one, we will want to kind of bridge across there. So you can grab one of these edges, or a couple of these edges probably. And let's do stitch and sew, and we'll just draw this across. Okay, so let's come in the next lesson with these all connected up and look at how we can build the rest of the hand.